Module 8. A quick recap on how to develop a project. Beginning with a chosen theme, which we'll talk about more in the video. Creating mind maps and mood boards to generate some initial ideas. Moving on to observational recording, taking photographs and drawing from primary and secondary sources. Artist research, researching and analysing artists' work to gain inspiration. I would recommend looking at least 2 different artists to add more diversity. Response to artist research, exploration of artist media and style. There is no limit to the amount of work you can produce in response to artists. Further experimentation, exploration of materials, techniques and processes. This stage will require you to select appropriate materials, techniques and processes according to your research, your strengths and ideas. Refinement of ideas. Improving ideas and developing a composition or a series of compositions for a final outcome. This stage is all about realising what has worked and what hasn't, and refining your ideas in preparation for creating a final piece. A final piece. When you get to this stage, you should have a very clear plan on how to proceed. You will create a final outcome or series of outcomes in selected media. Lastly, your evaluation. Assessment of own work through evaluation of the project. Explaining the process, your decision making and use of materials, techniques and processes. For Module 8, you will be selecting your own theme. Some ideas might be animals, man-made forms, identity, human figure, natural forms, land, sea and sky, art in different cultures, in the news, old versus new, telling stories, food and drink, light and dark, layers, TV and film, moments in time, and out of place. Once you have selected a theme, to begin your project, you need to explore it. It's always a good idea to start with a mind map and a mood board. In the same way you have begun each of your projects so far, you will again begin with a mind map. We begin our art projects with mind maps because they are an amazing way of gaining a really strong understanding of a theme. Organising thoughts, observations and information is helpful in getting ideas flowing. To start your mind map, first think about what materials and media you plan to use. You may decide to create a digital mind map, which is perfectly fine, if that suits your way of working. You may wish to use a selection of internet images and handwrite your notes. You may wish to base the entire mind map on drawings and handwritten notes. Remember, a mind map should be a burst of thought, so always start with a rough plan before presenting your notes in a more creative way. A quick recap on what to include in your mind map. A bold title. Break down the theme, think about what it can mean in different ways and note them down. Branch off your notes, adding more detail and ideas. Consider what materials, techniques and processes you may like to work with. Start looking into which artists you may look at later on and make a note of those. Remember, just because you have written them on your mind map doesn't mean you have to research all of the ones you have listed. This is a starting point only. Add lots of visual imagery, include internet images or your own sketches. Consider the layout. Fill the page and make it bold, eye-catching and informative. Create a mood board based on your chosen theme once you have completed your mind map. Remember, a mood board can be a collation of internet images, own drawings, magazine pictures, texts, and notes. Cut, tear, and layer your images to create a really powerful piece of inspirational work. You can include examples of artists' work which will inspire you and just anything which gives you ideas and makes you feel excited to get started on developing your own project. Observational recording. Once you have plenty of ideas on your mind map, you can start to think about what you want to focus on. Your theme or topic would be fairly broad, and you can now start to home in on one element. For example, if your theme is our world, your project might focus on the coral reef, ocean pollution, cultures around the world, our world as a planet, the great wonders of the world, or nature, and so on. Taking photographs is a great way to get started. There is no limit to how many pictures you should take, but the more you take, the more you have to work with. You can draw from your photographs. If you are able to edit your photographs using a crop tool or saturation, brightness, black point, or filters, this might be helpful to make them clearer to work from, but isn't essential. You can draw from secondary source imagery such as internet images and images from books and magazines. It's useful to draw from secondary sources if what you want to draw isn't easily accessible to draw from observation. For example, for this Our World project, I wouldn't be able to photograph a polar bear or draw one from observation. So secondary source drawing is the option here. Drawing from observation is an amazing way to capture a good likeness and sense of form. Drawing from observation will help to develop your recording skills. Once you have taken plenty of photographs and created at least 3 or 4 studies, you can begin to look at the work of others. Use the internet and books to help you identify at least 2 different artists you like the look of. The artists you choose to research should inspire your own ideas. Choose artists based on their use of materials, techniques, and processes, as well as their concepts or subject matter. The Artist Research Guide I have created for you is a useful tool for making sure you include relevant information on your research pages. In the following slides, we'll look at each section in more detail. Okay, let's look at how to put together an artist research. Start with a very short amount of information about the artist. This can include their date of birth, when they died, their nationality, what art movement they were linked to, and perhaps where he or she studied art. Include information about the art. In the following slide, we'll look more at how to analyse the work of others. Include your personal response. What do you find interesting about the artist's work? Why? How could you develop your ideas in response to your artist's work? What could you do? Include images. Include at least 3 photographs from the internet, and more importantly, include a transcription. This can be a direct copy from the artist's work or a small section. Use this support sheet to help you talk about the work of others. Remember that depending on your chosen artist, not all questions may be relevant. This is a guide only. Explain what the artist has created. Explain how it's been created. Talk about the subject matter. What is it based on? What is it about? Which of the formal elements has the artist had to consider in their work? And you could go into more detail about how the art makes you feel. I'm sure you have made a great start to your independent project. Once you have created a mind map, a mood board, a series of studies, and at least 2 artist research pages, you're ready to move on to Module 9. Well done! Well done!